Well, welcome, Ian Cairns, to the BoardRoom podcast. It's good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. It's interesting. Um, are you able to run a boardroom show anytime soon, or?
Yeah, that's the hopes are we're going to, well, we are doing it in October, the 9th and 10th of October. By then, we feel confident that the vaccine will have run through the community and most of us will be more or less safe. And people are pent up. They're ready to get back to life. And I think we're going to be on a good path.
Well, I sure hope so, because it's been a really important part of the core surf community. The whole shaping thing and the surfboard thing has been going bananas because of COVID. So there's more surfers than ever. I think it's a huge positive for surfing.
Yeah, I agree. And thank you, Ian. Yeah, we're looking forward to getting it going again. And this year we'll be honoring Pat Rawson as our icon of foam. And
Nice.
it'll be good fun. It'll be fun. It's always a good time.
Yeah, he's been around a long time. He makes some really good performance stand-up surfing boards too.
By the way, are you? I'm curious about the concept of surfing and aging, because I'm getting to that place in my life where I'm finding myself stumble when I try to take off, and I don't have my the agility that I once had as a young guy. And how did you struggle with that? What was it like for you when you realized, you know what, I'm explain a little bit of that to me, Ian, if you
Well,
will.
there were multiple things. I've had lots of injuries, particularly my shoulders. And so if you can't push up quickly and jump to your feet and get the edge in, you've missed the moment on a wave. And so because I'm bigger, like I'm 6'2" and 235, you got a power to weight ratio differential that's somewhat different to what it was when I was 20. And so you're losing agility, you're losing your quickness, my shoulders. I had a bad snowboarding accident and I had to have shoulder surgery, so I was out for a long time. And two of my rotator cuffs on the right side, the muscles could not be, replaced. So I have torn bicep tendons in both arms. I have a partial tear in the rotator on my left shoulder. So I have all of this sort of residual injury stuff that slows you down. I don't have that same pop and launch. And then I found myself, and I didn't realize, we're paddling, and as we get up, we're parallel with the board, but you actually have to rotate your body to get your front foot in front of the back foot. And so I found myself popping up parallel. And I'm just going, and then I'm going over the falls. My thing was always, I could make any late takeoff.
Right.
And so now you've got these physical injuries that are affecting the physical motion of getting up. And when you surf like a kook, now you're being impacted emotionally.
Yes.
And you've got the self-image of who you are.
Yeah, your ego, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, ego. It's this, the self-image. So suddenly you don't want to go anymore. And if you don't go, then you lose more quickness, you put on more weight, you do all of these things, and it's this absolutely self-destructive cycle down to where you die.
Yeah.
And it's got to be something that's all of us that have taken such joy out of surfing, and that it becomes, it literally is who we are.
Yes.
It's the only thing that you can absolutely guarantee is the hub of your wheel is your passion for going surfing. And what happens to you when you begin to lose that, and it's not reliable anymore? And then I'm starting to walk down the stairs, like I have a 2-story house here in Laguna. I'm walking down the stairs and I'm thinking, I need to hold the handrail because I don't feel fit enough and strong enough to walk down the stairs. And I'm just going, it's actually really, really shocking, this sort of sense of, the inevitable decline
Yeah.
that is going to happen to all of us. And then a year and a half ago, I had a heart attack, and it was a widow maker, and I could have died.
Wow.
But I went to the right hospital, got the right ambulance, had the right surgeon, and got a stent in there. And within 2 weeks, the cardiologist goes, I said, what do I need to do, for rehab? And I'm thinking 12 weeks in a gym. And he says, go surfing. And I went, oh, okay. So I went surfing. But all of this was possible. So there's this time where I'm getting older, I'm getting slower, I'm getting heavier. Everything sort of breaks down in terms of agility and quickness. And then I have the injuries, and it's just worse and worse. And then just coincidentally, I'm coach of the US team, and we get involved in stand-up paddling. And I meet this new community of people, and I start stand-up paddling, and I just went, whoa, everything that was holding me back from regular shortboard surfing is eliminated now.
Yeah.
I now am standing up, and all of a sudden I can surf good again. And I know today that I can go out and I can get better at my craft of surfing on a different piece of equipment.
Yeah.
That whole the shift in positive attitude is kind of miraculous. For I'm 69 this year, and that I stand up paddle surf like pretty good.
Yeah, you're excellent. You're excellent. You're great.
And it's really fun.
Well, look, you're a great surfer. I mean, let's just cut to the chase, right? You're an excellent world champion level surfer, so that's carried over for you.
Well, it has, and the fundamental things of being in a lineup, being able to select the right wave, position correctly, take off, do turns, and ride a wave to completion is like success in surfing.
Yeah.
And so I know that I'm going to be able to do this till the day that, the Widowmaker takes me away at some point out in the surf somewhere. And I'll go happy because these years, after learning to do this, has made me really optimistic and happy. And sort of go, oh wow, could I go to Western Australia and ride a couple of waves at North Point? Like I believe I can, not on a really big day, but I believe I can today.
Yeah.
And can I get my ass kicked and get smashed? Probably still. I'm fit enough to do that. So no, I don't need to hold the rail walking down my stairs.
Yeah.
I can run down the stairs. I can go surfing, and the bottom line is when you get on a smaller stand-up paddleboard to surf good, it's a freaking workout.
Oh yeah. Oh
big
yeah.
time.
Oh yeah.
So the level of exercise that I get, just going, I can go down to Thalia Street in Laguna Beach and go and get 5 waves and just power out, and I'm huffing and puffing. I'm getting an aerobic workout, I'm getting physical workout, and I'm riding a few waves. And I come in, I'm just going, wow, that was kind of fun.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And that what more can we ask for in our surfing, that it still delivers?
Yeah.
That kind of stoke.
Absolutely. That's cool. I'm stoked. You're inspiring me a little bit here. You can see my stand-up paddleboard in the back. The thing hasn't been down for 15 years. I might have to start doing this again.
Well, and in essence, it's sort of modified my thinking too. The whole experience with getting into the coaching and stuff in stand-up paddle world, and discovering a whole bunch of people who are actually really nice.
Yeah.
And super friendly and very welcoming. And they love the idea that there's a surfer. And so my thing is, like, anytime we're near a wave, like I've got an encyclopedia of knowledge about waves.
Yeah.
And so they just loved it. And so, I've traveled, back in the old days pre-pandemic, I was in New York, I was in Barbados coaching, like, men and women, people who won world titles.
Yeah.
And just, it's really, for me, the whole coaching thing, I consider myself more of a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I teach skills. I mentor in terms of attitude, determination to succeed, all of these things that become life skills for someone.
Yeah.
And you know, the actual coaching in a heat is, you know, it's one part of it, but more importantly, it's teaching the skills of navigating a lineup. You know, which are the best waves out there? Which are the ones that, you know, if you just went out for a free surf, and someone that's a really excellent person in a lineup will always get all the best waves. And so teaching those skills and having all the best waves, if you condense it down to a heat, is the formula for winning.
Yeah.
Now, this is not rocket science.
Well,
And
let me
so
ask you this. I got a question for you in regards to this, because you and I both know that if you look at the top 32 surfers in the world that are on the WSL Championship Tour, they're all incredible surfers. As far as their technique and their skill level, they're all incredible, or they wouldn't be where they're at. And what really separates the champion, and I say that singular, from the rest of them is between their ears, in my opinion. And is that something that you think is a crucial aspect? You know, I look at guys like Taj Burrow, great surfer, one of the greatest surfers in the world. Jordy Smith. These guys have not won world titles. Now, is that because Kelly Slater was in the way, or is that because something they didn't have the drive?
When I coach, I put it into three areas: strategy, which is how you use a lineup. Like, and this is a learned skill. It's not luck, the person that gets the good waves all the time. It's a skill. Where is the good wave? How often does it come? Where do you need to be positioned to get that wave? So that's strategy in the lineup, and it's completely applicable to just regular free surfing, just as it is vitally important for a competitive surfer. You have to be on the best waves to win. And then it's skills. How good a surfer are you? So clearly you can see that Taj Burrow and Jordy Smith in skills are like mind-boggling, brilliant, mind-boggling. So then the question comes down to why don't they win a world title? And so the third aspect to me is attitude. Like, how willing are you to commit to winning? And if you watch Bustin' Down the Door, the most mellow person in the world, Mark Richards, said in that movie, it was completely mind-blowing to me, that he would have died to win. And I'm just going, dude, the only other person I've ever thought would think like that is me. Because I literally would die to win.
Yeah.
And I came close.
You did.
Really close.
You actually won and almost died in the 75.
Yeah.
The 75 Duke, right?
75 Duke at Waimea. I mean, almost died. If I had have had a leash, I would have died, because I would have been stuck in that spot, not washed in. I would have been stuck and had the third wave on the head, and I would have been done.
Yeah.
But the second wave washed me in far enough to the third wave it was all mellow. But you know, it flicked the switch in my head as I just went, oh shit, you know, you can die doing this crap.
Yeah.
Up to that moment, I didn't know. But the willingness to actually take that level of risk and commit yourself and do those things. So the bottom line is, if you're saying to me that I just want to have fun,
yeah,
you're fucked.
Yeah.
You're done. Right? Because there is someone that's someone that realizes the most fun you have is winning. And so you do what's necessary. So I was watching the snapper contest a few years ago, and it comes down to Kelly and Taj have qualified for the grand final.
Yeah.
And it's kind of high tide-ish and pretty good wind. And Taj is like unbeatable. And so Kelly comes in and goes, well, you know, the waves are kind of mushy and whatever, and the tide's going to drop, so it'll get better. And Taj goes, oh, okay, well I'll wait. And I'm thinking to myself, are you insane?
Yeah.
You just let your competitor change the field of play, first and foremost. And then they get ready for the fight. Well, of course, the tide dropped, and then the wind came up, and now it looks like Cocoa Beach. And I'm just going, oh my God, you've just given the contest to Kelly. And then the last thing was Kelly, before the final, Kelly comes up to shake Taj's hand.
Oh.
And I'm just going, dude, you never touch someone. Like if it had been him coming up to me, I would have slapped his hand away and pushed him away and said, fuck off.
Plus, we've seen that story before. We've seen this before with Kelly. We know how this ends.
Oh my God. And so Kelly just goes out and blows up. Taj looks like awful and Kelly wins. So all of those pieces are in the attitude aspect.
Yeah. Well,
right.
If that's the case, and you look at the 32, can you look at the 32? Let me put it to you this way. I look at some guys in the top 32 and I say to myself, that kid was 21 years old and they wrote him a check for $4 million a year and he's set. Why does he even need a world title? Is some of this because they were given too much too soon?
Well, you've got to be aggro and have motivation. Are you telling me that Gabriel Medina was a rich guy before he, are you telling me that Italo was rich? There is no freaking way. How could Adriano de Souza win a world title?
Yeah, he's the greatest example, I think, of willingness.
Well, but historically, there have been people sort of similar mindset that go, if I don't succeed here, I'm going to be laying bricks.
Which is kind of you and PT and that whole crew, right? That was those.
I grew up. I mean, I didn't realize, but because I grew up 5 houses from the beach.
Yeah.
But we were renting a house from a wealthy farmer, right? Yeah. We didn't own that house. My parents. It was only in older times that my parents could afford a house.
Yeah. And
so I grew up kind of poor. So I had to succeed. And so therefore you got that motivation. So this attitude of, just having, like I had a lot of fun, but I damn sure had to win to pay the bank off or to afford to be able to move on to the next event and stuff like that. And so there's a big payday here. And so our payday in our time was winning events and taking prize money. Today, when the prize money is trivial compared to your sponsorship dollars, you have your first allegiance to your sponsors, not to your success.
Exactly.
And so it's easy to pay off your house in San Clemente and do all of these things and have the big sponsors and all that sort of stuff, and not really worry about not having that check mark.
Do you ever foresee a surfer from Southern California winning a world title because they just don't have the internal drive based on necessity?
Well, I mean, I coached a lot of these people, and to me, like I know I fundamentally got forced out of the US team coaching because I was too negative. And the bottom line is that I'm an incredibly optimistic person. And if I'm talking to you as a surfer, it's because I recognize some really incredible talent here. So now I've already run through my little checklist in my head on, how's your strategy in the lineup? Do you always get the best waves? If not, I can teach you how to get them. Your skills, wow, you're pretty high up there in skills, but your attitude kind of sucks. If you're not willing to be really, really critical of yourself, then you don't have what it takes to be a champion athlete.
Yeah.
Like you've got to be ultra critical. So when I would try and communicate to people along this way, they just go, oh, fucking Kanga, the old guy, what the fuck does he know? All he does is just criticize me. Like, I'm not going to kiss your ass and fucking blow smoke up your butt because you're fucking, in Surfer Pole. Like, dude, I was in Surfer Pole. I've got 6 World Tour victories. Like, if you ever come close to my competitive results, then how about we have a different conversation? But for now, shut the fuck up and listen, because I'm the guy that will give you the tools to succeed at a level beyond your I'll give you the tools to succeed at the level of your original imagination before losing over and over again. Beat your psyche down to the point where you're willing to accept it.
Let me ask you again, because I'm of the opinion that North American surfers are way too soft to ever win a world title. And I'm not saying they're not some of the greatest free surfers in the world. will a North American surfer, in your opinion, and I know we're generalizing, we're throwing a big blanket on a bunch of people here, but will a North American surfer ever win a world title in, say, the next 5 years, the next 5 years?
Well, the person that I think is really, well, look at the
that
women.
doesn't include John, obviously. But I mean, John, yeah. I consider him Hawaiian, not, I'm talking about mainland USA.
Well, men, I don't know. And you got to look at the structure of the tour. Women, I think Carolyn Marks has the ability to win a world title.
Yeah.
Lanky Peterson has the ability.
Well, I'm not talking about ability. They're all able. I'm talking about between the ears, the willingness.
What I'm saying is that Lakey and Courtney have, in my three areas, some really big strength. I mean, there is no person that's more of an animal in competitive surfing than Courtney Conlog.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, so where are her weaknesses? What does she need to work on? And so, like, if you analyze that and you find that losing, coming second or third in the world title, as Courtney and Lakey have done, it comes down to something really fundamental and simple. It's like, where's the creativity? Because what you've got to understand that you get, you start off in surfing, it's all exciting and creative and fresh and inventive. But competition squeezes you into a box. The box is this 20 or 30 minute time period. And the 20 or 30 minute time period is completely diametrically opposed to regular surfing. So regular surfing is timeless. You get a great wave, you've had an awesome session. But you have to have that great wave within that 20 or 30 minute time period. So if you're not able to actually change your thinking and how to compress it into this box, but when you compress something into a box like that, you've eliminated the most special part, which is the creativity. So how do you learn the timing of being able to generate those scoring waves in that time? And then at that point, then you've got to bust out the creativity. You see what I'm saying? And there are people that are locked into the, I would say that Courtney and Lakey and even Carolyn Marks, for instance, are still locked in the box and they haven't busted out the creativity.
Yeah, but that's a good problem, right? Because we know that that's probably going to happen. That comes almost with maturity on some level, because we know they already had it. And so what I think you're saying is that those 2 or 3 people have the willingness. The situation between the ears is there. You sense it. And so now the good news is, because you can't really teach that, in my opinion. You can teach the other 2.
Right. Well, no, the willing to grind.
Yeah.
Not many people want to roll up the sleeves and go to work.
Exactly.
And that's
kind of my point. That's my point. Like, North American men, I don't see it happening.
No, and
except for maybe Kanoa. Kanoa Igarashi has, because of his cultural situation is a bit different, and he's got some of that Japanese. I don't even know how to paraphrase it, but I think you know what I mean. I think that there's some internal drive there that's bigger than.
There's some work ethic.
Thank you. Yes.
The work ethic and the determination to improve himself.
Yes.
But there's something, in the end, there's got to be something exceptional. You know what I'm saying? Which is, you don't see it often. But actually, I had ran when Connor Coffin and Kanoa, when they were all kids and were doing some US team workouts and stuff. And Kanoa always got the best wave, right? There's an exceptional instinctive skill set that Kanoa has. And you watch him in all his heats, he's always on an incredible wave. This is sort of like a natural, exceptional skill that he has. So when you combine that with his willingness to grind and improve his skills, and then you combine that with his desire to succeed at the ultimate level, so when Kanoa sort of pitches out the idea that he wants to be world champion, you know that he's got the grind and the will. You know that he will take the criticism and improve his skill set. And he instinctively has the exceptional talent of always choosing the best wave. So I would put him in the Adriana D'Souza category.
Yeah.
That Will, yeah, because I was commentating at Margaret River on a big day. John, I mean, we know John, Margaret River, please, reinvented the place. But it was kind of medium waves and big sets. And there were 10-point waves as big sets. But Adriano used priority to draw John. Adriano got in front in the heat, drew John in to defend priority, and got caught in side by sets. So it was just sort of like genius, strategically.
Yeah.
And it was sort of what Adriano needed to do was to prevent John from getting those 10-foot waves. How could he do it? By using the priority rule in such a way. And I'm just watching it happen and just going, oh my God. It may have been the year that Adriano won. I was just going, this guy is smart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just had a comment with him about Bells Beach. Like, have you seen Adriano's results at Bells Beach?
They're incredible.
They're up there with Parko.
Yeah.
But there's something really interesting there. Everyone talks about the Bells Bowl. And yeah, there's a wave there. But there's actually, in a set, there's a wave that will actually peel from Rincon all the way across to the Bells Bowl.
Yes.
And the takeoff is like 50 yards deeper than everyone else. Parko, why is Parko like 50 yards deeper and he gets 2 or 3 more turns? The only other surfer that I've seen do that is Adriano. And I learned that place in the lineup from a friend of mine who was a Bells Beach surfer. He taught me that wave. And so you look down the line and you don't see it really standing up at the bowl. You know, this one's going to peel all the way through. So you get 2 or 3 more turns. 2 or 3 more turns before it goes flat after the bowl is when you heat.
Who was that surfer that gave you that insight?
Oh my God, I can't remember. He's died now.
Yeah.
It was it was in the early 70s.
Yeah.
You know, because Victorians are outsiders and West Australians are outsiders. Yeah, we became friends. You know?
Don't worry about it. I'm not going to. It'll come to you tomorrow. You can call me later.
Yeah, but it's. I look at these things and study this. I mean, have you ever watched Parko at J Bay?
Sure, of course.
He's 100 yards deeper.
Yeah.
How could you? You cannot beat someone that takes off 100 yards deeper and makes the wave, because the judges against, you know, they're just comparing this ride to that, and they go, okay, Kelly, you've got a really, really good wave. I mean, normally that would be like a 9.5, but Parko took off 100 yards deeper and did 3 more turns. Like, he's got to get a higher score. And so from a far distance, the judges are actually calculating that into the final score.
Was Michael Peterson like that at Bells, do you think? Or was Michael Peterson just turns for more turns, so more scoring? Did he know that spot like you knew that spot?
Yes, somewhat. And the 2 people that really made this happen that I saw was Midget Farrelly. Yeah. Way, way deep. And then Ted Spencer. Mm-hmm. Ted Spencer took off really deep.
He's a goofy foot, wasn't he, Ted?
No. Ted Spencer was a regular foot. And you should look up John Witzig's thing on Instagram. He talks about Ted, and I commented on Ted. Ted was a really good surfer. It was Nat, in our mind as kids. Yeah. Nat, Wayne, and Ted.
Yeah. Right. What about Midget?
Well, Midget got eliminated by the whole new era.
Yeah, thing. There was almost like an Australian hooey that you talked about in your book.
Wow.
Where they kind of pushed Midget out of the situation, didn't they?
But I grew up because Midget came to Western Australia and surfed at Yallingup as a demo, and I met him, and so I became friendly with Midget, and then I rode his boards, and then Midget, I worked at his factory, and he taught me how to shape and all of these things. So I had a really good relationship with Midget. Midget was like an unusual guy.
Yeah. How so?
Oh, just really opinionated and not.
That sounds like you.
Well, yeah, maybe, but he was just an extraordinary surfer because he took up sailboarding and did all of these other things.
Yeah.
And like Midget tied for first. Like, of course, he won in 66, but in 1970, he tied for first against Rolf Arness.
Yeah.
And before that, in 1968, he tied for first with Fred Hemmings in Puerto Rico.
Right.
So, but for a pubic hair, Midget would have been a 3 times world champion.
Yeah. Amazing.
And remember that Puerto Rico and also 1970 was the era when Nat Wayne and Ted were, preeminent.
Right.
So Midget was right up there. But that whole thing really impacted Midget negatively.
It was almost like, wasn't it true that it was like a Witzig and the media kind of shunned the whole Midget Fairley side of the equation?
Oh, yeah. The, surfing world, you can look up the issue. There's a black and white picture of Midget on the beach at Makaha with his Makaha trophy. And it says the new era. And you turn the page and like you've literally turned the page on Midget.
Oh my God.
And here's the new era. And I don't know. I mean, the Witzigs had a powerful machine.
And did Midget piss them off? Did Midget just piss those guys off?
Well, I'm sure he pissed everyone off,
Yeah, right.
Simply because he just wouldn't go with the flow.
Right.
And he was straight and, just the whole hippie, simply because, like, for as astonishingly bohemian the surf world appeared to be, it's really, really not that inclusive.
Right.
For people with alternative thinking.
Right.
Like you either become one of the tribe and you act like the tribe.
Yes.
You sure as hell can't be the lone guy.
Yes.
Up the beach.
I've often said surfers are the most conservative group of people I know.
Yeah, and it's not a. I mean, I've lived my entire life as a member of the tribe, but I'm that guy up the beach by myself.
Yeah.
And I'm completely comfortable just being me.
Yeah.
Which, and it's, I often blurt shit out that I just think to myself, oh my God, what are you thinking? Yeah. But it's because I actually just say what I think.
Yeah.
And I'm, so I'm so used to it now. I just know that the arrows are coming.
Yeah.
So like, I just turn and let the thick skin on the back just absorb the arrows and they drop away. And I just go, well, fuck it. Miss me.
Hey, let me bring you back a little bit to Midget and you shaping surfboards. He mentored you. You learned how to shape from Midget Fairley. How many boards did you make before you made the transition, say in 73 to Hawaii, and you basically got on BK's boards and some other guys' boards? How many boards, like you shaped a Bonzer for yourself, like how many boards were in your stable of boards, and how did you have a label? Was there a Kanga label? Was there some Ian Cairns Surfboards label out there?
Well, I shaped about 1,000 boards. I worked, firstly, I worked in Midget's factory, fixing dings and Midget's factory, like it was either perfect or it went back and got fixed.
Yeah.
And whoever made it not perfect paid for it to be fixed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, right from the thing, like the shapes, but let me tell you, there was no little scratch mark on a foam blank after a shape job. Yeah. I mean, it was flawless, right? Then it went to the glasser, right? And that glasser was unbelievably perfect. There were no bubbles in a glass job in a Midget board.
Yeah.
And then the colors, the sanding, the pinstripes, the fins, like they laid out the fins, the layers of fin. The fins were all of those multi-hued, layer, red and black and yellow resin in between. And then the sand job on the fin was just perfect. With all of those different layers showing. Just like it was the ultimate place for the extremely perfect board makers, art was in his place, and it was remorseless. Like Midget was merciless. There were, it didn't come to the showroom until the gloss coat was perfect, the everything was perfect. So it was actually really interesting to go and learn to shape there, because it had to be perfect in terms of this. But then the design thing, he was part of everything. Like when there was a shortboard revolution, like he had a V-bottom shortboard.
Oh yeah.
If you watch Hot Generation, and when they're talking about Animal and Nat at Bells, you watch midget surfing, like it's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And he's on a stringerless shortboard.
Yeah.
Right. So he was right there for design. So he made me, quite a few boards, and I have some old pictures of a pintail. He made side slippers. Remember that? Yeah.
I'm much younger than you are, my friend.
Reno, you need to look this up. Reno.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember it as if I was there.
Oh my God. Reno and Jerry Lopez come to the Huntington Beach Championships on the side slipper. And the side slipper had this really wide center, narrow, little blunt nose, huge kick on the nose, tiny fins. And so they would come and they would kick the tail out, and the board would just slide down the wave sideways. And then they would go, reconnect the rail, and off they would go. And boom. So I got a side slipper. I can remember surfing guillotine, the right-hander, side slipping down the face of the wave, then reconnecting and turning and stuff. These are the sorts of innovations. Like Midget was on top of all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Really open-minded to like advancement.
Yeah.
And so I really, really, and I mean this one. I like cars, right?
Yeah.
So Midget had a GT Falcon.
Right.
He had multiple. Like Holden is like Chevy.
Yep.
And Ford is the Falcon, right?
Yep.
And so it evolved, like they both had these massive hoon cars, we call them, like V8s, and as fast as, 4 on the floor, the whole routine.
Yeah.
And a GT Falcon, I remember I get a ride back because he lived at Palm Beach and my aunt lived at Avalon, kind of where I started. So I was staying, he would drop me off at my aunt's place after working at the factory. And so there's one time we were flogging through Newport, and there's this car parked away from the sidewalk, and he just fucking drops it down a gear and guns it between the sidewalk and this parked car in the GT Falcon. And Kanga's in there just going, yes, I love this shit. Like those sorts of memories. That's my midget. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Cool. Right. Very good.
He's this guy who's just really tormented and very difficult and a perfectionist, but he will still just fucking go for it in his GT Falcon.
Yeah.
And it was like, and so those are the things. So I have this sort of, because I didn't actually drink all the Kool-Aid.
Right.
With and to me, I still think the most influential surfer in Australian surfing is Nat.
Yeah.
He's the basis of Parko, my style, and Parko. It's the carved power flow.
Yeah.
School of surfing that came from Nat.
Yeah.
Midget was more hot dog, a little bit more Californian in terms of style,
Uh-huh.
A bit more flair, hot dog, but the fundamental meat and potatoes of Australian traditional surfing came from Nat.
Yeah.
But I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Nat.
Yeah.
Because.
Well, you guys are kind of similar in many ways, from what I can see.
Like I think I have a pretty giant ego, but I'm willing to actually look in the mirror and go to Kanga, like, come on, dude, settle down. But Nat doesn't. Like Nat's Nat and that's that.
Well said.
To this day, right? It's just like, and I've been in heats and seen him like have meltdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've just gone, whew, I'm glad it's not directed at me because I wouldn't respond well. Yeah. And I actually had a heat with Nat in a longboard contest at Hossegor where, Nat's like an extraordinary surfer. He was a champion paddler. I mean, everything he did was just fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
And unbelievable. So we get in a paddle battle in this heat.
Is this like one of these 1990s longboard contests?
Yeah, it was
Oh
in the
God.
early 90s. We went there. I was doing some work for,
Oxbow or something.
oh, no, he was with Oxbow. I was doing some work with Dynacom on the ASP events.
Right.
And so I was there for that. And I was in the longboard contest, which was concurrent with the Hasselgore event.
Yeah.
And so Nat's going, yeah, and he can't paddle past me because I'm not fucking letting Nat out paddle me.
Yeah.
And he goes, fuck you, Kanga, you kook. And he tries to hit me and all this sort of shit. And I'm thinking, well, fuck, now it's on. Like, I'm not putting up with this kind of bullshit from this fucking guy. Right. You know, because I got some points on the board too.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, we come in, I lose the heat because I'm all spun out. And I see him in the showers. And I'm, right, fucking beeline right at you, you fucking shithead. And he sees me coming and he does a runner. And I'm just going, I'm a steam out the ears, like it would have just been fucking full, gone to blows right there under the shower at the contest. And
oh my God.
So he disappears, and I'm there. I do my work, and I come and I go up to Paris to leave, and I'm changing my French money for dollars, right? So I change it, and then the next guy steps up. And they go, I'm sorry, sir, we're out of dollars. And I looked around, it was Nat. I got the last dollars. And so we're all, when you see the dogs in the parking lot sniffing around and, we're not going to go to blows now.
Yeah.
So anyhow, we go and the bus goes around and around, De Gaulle, right?
Yeah.
So they climb in, I've taken the last dollars. And who should get on the bus at the next stop but Nat? And it was just like, just daggers, right? And it was this sort of, the confrontation of egos at this level is
it's almost childish.
It's such fucking baby shit, but it's awesome. It's super fun. You get great stories. 30 years later, you got fucking killer stories, man.
How did this resolve?
It just dissipated. And then I saw at Angari when Nat got beat up because he hassled some kid and the dad came down and just worked him over because Nat is just a dick in the water.
Yeah.
Every wave's Nat's wave.
Yeah.
And they weren't having it, right? So that kind of was the first moment that, I've never spoken to Nat, but
what do you mean what do you mean you've never spoken to Nat?
Since all of that happened,
yeah.
But I have heard that he's toned down a lot.
Yeah.
Because when you live your life in absolute certainty that you are the man,
yeah,
and you discover you're not,
yeah, there's some humility. Finally, some humility.
Yeah. I don't, but it's still that. I just see this sort of pantheon of people that have gone through this world of surfing.
Yeah.
And I just find it really interesting, all of the massive personalities and the idiosyncrasies and the differences. And I mean, Michael Peterson, right? He and I had some of the most gnarly competitive experiences. And in terms of strategy in the lineup, we're talking like a 20 out of 10.
Yeah.
Particularly on a point break. Like he would paddle me up at the point at Burley and then he'd be gone because of the current. He'd be like 30 yards down the point before I knew it on the best wave of the day.
Yeah.
And I would just go, really? Did I just fall for that again? So it wasn't until, 1976, I won the Allen Oak contest. It was a World Tour event in 76 and I think 77. And I was in a heat and Michael begs me for a wave. Michael Peterson begs Kanga for a wave.
What's that sound like exactly?
Hey, Kanga, can I get one? And I had the inside. It's a reef break, dude. Like, come on, please. No fucking way. and I got the bomb, and he got eliminated, and I just went, there you go. I've suffered enough pain from you, but what happens was, and I look at this, without having adversaries,
Yeah.
of amazing talent,
Yeah.
we don't rise to areas that perhaps we'd never imagined. So to me, it's just really, really cool. And here's something like the other day, I'm on LinkedIn and I get a friend request from this person, Denise Peterson. And I'm thinking, Denise Peterson, like my mother's maiden name is Peterson.
Right.
So I'm thinking Denise, I had an older sister who died whose name was Denise.
Yeah.
And Denise Peterson's friend of me, like, is this something out of the universe?
Yeah.
And so I finally just go, hey, are we related? And she goes, no, we're not. But you might know my brother, Tommy.
Ah.
And I'm going, no, come on, not Tommy Peterson. Like, it's Michael Peterson. And she goes, yeah, he's my brother. And I'm just going, you can't even imagine how out of body this moment is.
That's cool.
Yeah. And she said, oh, yeah, I know who you are. I've watched you surfing, you surf. And so, and she says, I'm making some T-shirts with Michael on it, and I want to send you one. So I'm waiting for the mail to come to get my Michael Peterson T-shirt from Denise's sister. And I'm going to put it on and take a photo, and I'm going to send this picture to her.
Sweet.
Because Kanga wouldn't be Kanga without Michael.
Yeah. But I want to bring it back to Nat a little bit, because I don't feel like, let me ask you this. If Nat rang your doorbell right now, what would go down? Like, I guess if he's coming to your house, that's a bit of a.
Well,
I mean,
here's what I
resolve this for me. What's up with you and Nat?
And here's where I'm at personally. I actually see these rivalries as an incredibly valuable aspect of my development as a person.
Yeah.
Because without overcoming overwhelming odds,
yeah,
you never discover the incredible things that you're capable of.
Yeah.
So we get pushed in all of these things. So if I was in Burley and I saw Nat, I'd be going, Nat, awesome, great to see you. Hey, let's have a coffee. Let's have a laugh. Remember that fucking time you hassled me? It was so fun.
I know what you would do, but I'm wondering, what do you think Nat would do?
I don't know, but it's these are the things that at our age we've got to just be going.
Yeah.
Look at the fabric of the quilt that we've built.
Yes.
And you're a part of it, and it's kind of like a pretty cool story. And we should be able to just have a beer and celebrate.
Absolutely. And I think you would. I think
he would too.
Yeah.
I think he'd be going, yeah, you know what, Kanga, I know I was a dick. Yeah. But
no. I think after 3 schooners, you guys are back at it.
Who knows? And so it's like, I would love to have these moments. Like, obviously with Michael, we can't have that.
Yeah.
But there's so many other people. Like, I've had those moments with Buzzy where we just laugh about shit because we were very competitive.
Yeah.
And one time I took him over the falls in a headlock at Haleiwa underwater, and because I saw him throw his board across in front of Mark Richards to catch Mark Richards' leash.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you're Buzzy Kerbox, and that's Mark Richards, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't be cheating with MR.
Right.
And so the next semifinals come around.
Wait, was that a nationalistic thing, or was that a friend thing?
No, it's just simply a recognition of, dude, like, Mark Richards is untouchable.
Right.
For all of us.
Yeah.
Like, you just go, okay, you've outpositioned me.
Yeah.
You're like one of the greatest ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
I lesson learned.
All right.
Right?
All right. All right. Fair enough.
And so Buzzy, yeah, it was really, really like Hans, Buzzy, and Michael Ho were gnarly in the water. Like I never got away by myself again once those guys came on tour.
Yeah.
Never. They hassled each other, hassled everyone.
Yeah.
So Buzzy paddles to my inside on about a 10-foot wave at Haleiwa, and I just went, oh, no way. So we both stand up, and I just angled left on him, and I grabbed him in a headlock and took him over the falls in the headlock. And at the bottom of the wave, you know, Haleiwa explodes, man. When you are exploding in a headlock, like it sends a message. And boom, like you're fucking crazy. And I go, yes. And you know what? I never even got an interference for that. It was just blowing my mind. But the point is that today, you tell those stories, it's just really funny.
Yeah.
And it's and without having people that you were, you know, highly competitive with.
Yeah.
And you have all of these incidents, like they enrich all of us.
Yeah.
And it's so I would hope that we'd have all of these experiences so we could just talk about that shit and just laugh about it.
Yeah.
Let me ask
this. Let me, if I can, I'd like to just shift gears a little bit, because I was talking to you about midget and your shaping, and I want to get to this bonzer that you made for Hawaii. I think it was red. PT had sent you some sort of letter that said, hey, I'm on these bonzers from the Campbell brothers. Make yourself one and come to Hawaii with it. That seems rather revolutionary, this idea of putting 3 fins on a board. And in your mind, first of all, do the Campbell brothers get enough credit for the 3-fin surfboard, or is Simon's thruster different than this? Like, I mean, that's kind of ballsy to just go, okay, PT says I should build a bonzer. I've never even heard of these things. I'm just going to do it. Like, that's crazy.
Well, remember the letters? That was the form of communication.
Yeah.
And so I got a letter from PT. He'd got a letter from Mike Eaton, who was shaping bonzers at Bing with the Campbell brothers. So the Campbell brothers got Mike Eaton to do a bonzer, and Mike Eaton sent this letter to PT, and PT wrote another letter and sent, because there wasn't a photocopy machine. He didn't photocopy Mike Eaton's letter and send me. So just think, this has gone from the Campbell brothers to Eaton to PT, gone across the Nullarbor to Kanga, and Kanga's gone and created a bonzer, which of course it was completely different. Like, it had the two big concaves, and it had these little, it didn't have the full keel fins. It had these little bumpy things, and I had the big old monster single fin in it.
Yeah.
But that thing was fast.
Yeah.
And so it was 7'6", the one that I won the Smirnoff on.
Yeah.
And so I rock up, and I've got bonzers. 7'6" was my big board, and I had a 7-footer. And of course, if the Campbell brothers had have compared my bonzer with theirs, that'd be kind of pretty different.
Yeah.
But in those days, that was the form, the jungle telegraph. That's how information happened. And it happened, just imagine that timeline of how long did it take for Mike Eden to write a letter and for it to get to Sydney or Queensland, and for PT to absorb this and then send me a letter. Yeah. And then I guess there was this trust in evolving design concepts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, this is meant to be more powerful and fast and all of this sort of stuff. So there's massive experimentation.
This board that you built, I mean, you, like you said, you won the 73 Smirnoff on this. This was sort of your go-to design, but as a 3-fin surfboard, did you look at it like revolutionary, or did you just look at it like, yeah, this will stabilize my single fin?
Well, my single fins were big, and I've never had a fin too big.
Right.
Right. So to me, it was just more fin.
Right.
And actually, when Simon won the bells contest on the thruster, I was riding a Neb Hyman 3-fin with a single fin with 2 side stabilizers.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Neb and a channel bottom. In fact,
right.
Channel bottom.
What are you saying? Are you saying that you're the first guy with a thruster?
Well, people keep on coming up to me and going, "Thank you for inventing the thruster." And I go, "Well, here's the address. You can Venmo me the $1." But no, Simon's boards were really different, and Simon made me a thruster, and I loved the feel of the board. It was really soft, and smooth and flowed, but I kept on blowing the fins out off the top, and in those days you carved everything.
Yeah.
So I maybe I invented the blowtail.
Yeah, I think you did, and the thruster.
No, but so this board, I got a 2-page spread in Sports Illustrated with the Laniakea wall across both pages, with this red board flying down the line. It said "Chairman of the Board."
Cool.
And that was Surfer Shaper wins, the world title.
Yeah.
And, so that was the culmination, because I shaped a lot of boards. It's, I didn't go to university, but I started shaping boards and making as much money per week as like someone who went to university shaping boards. Yeah. And ultimately I didn't shape in glass. I sold shaped blanks, and people would take them off.
Right.
And it was Ian Cairns with Surfing in Mind. And
that was your logo?
Yeah. Cool. I had a cutback or something, Ian Cairns with Surfing in Mind, and you
ever see any of these boards floating around?
Yeah, people send me stuff all the time, and there were models.
This is all in WA, right? This is all in Western Australia?
This is all in Western Australia. And I would sell shaped blanks, and they'd take the blank and get it glass. You know how people do it today.
Is this like 1970 to 1973, something like that?
1970 was shaping, probably up to 76.
Really? Oh, really? But you weren't riding your boards in Hawaii.
I would ride some. No, after I won the Smirnoff, I bought a couple of boards off BK.
Yeah.
And because BK was kind of like my alter ego at Sunset.
Yeah.
Like absolutely, created completely different lines on that wave to everyone else. And, so I copied those and did my own thing. Yep. And then I just thought, wow. And I rode these boards, and I just go, whoa, these things surf good. So that snapback photo is a 7-foot BK.
The one on Surfer magazine cover.
Yeah, on the Surfer cover.
Yeah.
And that was January of 74, after I'd first started. And I realized that it's highly unlikely for someone to be a high performance champion surfer and then also a shaper.
Right.
Shane Horan tried to be a design
guy.
Let's
hold on for a minute, because we know MR did that, right? But not really in Hawaii. MR was riding Brewers or whatever. Yeah. And then I'm thinking Reno. Yeah, Reno did it. And Terry Fitzgerald, although maybe competitively he wasn't on the same level as you guys. But there were, back then, if it was ever going to happen, it was going to happen then.
No, it did. And you would argue that Simon sacrificed his surfing for the thruster.
Right. The experimentation of it all.
Yeah. I was in an Australian titles at Narrabeen when Simon was in the juniors and in the open, and he won the juniors and the open. And we're talking like
really good,
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
The Joel Parkinson of his time.
Yeah.
But the thing, and I don't know whether it was the shaping or whether it was the attitude aspect, we've talked about.
Yeah.
Probably not as determined to win.
Yeah.
Which forces you to grovel on those days you don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which gives you that a little bit extra, and then you become like MR MR was just brilliant in little waves. You know, he grew up in Merriweather and Newcastle, of course. But then for him to be that good at Waimea and stuff, that was like surprising to me.
Yeah.
He beat me in the Smirnoff.
Yep.
And I just went,
Yeah, that's inspiring.
Beat me once. Not again.
Let me ask you this, back to your boards in Hawaii. So you're riding BKs. Then the situation that we all know unfolded, the drama on the North Shore with the Hui and those guys, you know, the busting down the door era occurred. And at one point you went to Hawaii, and I think it was 76, and there were no boards available for you.
No, my boards, there were the boards from 75 had disappeared.
Those were BKs, right?
The BK, the white BK that I won the 75 Duke on.
Yeah.
If there was ever a board I would want, that would be it.
Yeah.
That's the only one that I really care about.
Yeah.
The white 8'6" BK. I had yellow BKs that if you watch the 75 Smirnoff, Rabbit's borrowing one of my boards and I'm on a BK.
Right.
So Rabbit borrowed some of my boards. I was getting these boards, they're all lightning bolts. The whole deal was you just give them back to Jack. He has them waiting. You come back next year. And I came back and we don't have your boards anymore.
Yeah.
And
you knew why.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Someone had spoken to Jack. Never has admitted this, but someone spoke to him and said, you know,
these guys aren't welcome here.
Yeah, if you want to stay in business, this is what you need to do.
And so that was obviously the clan of the Hui guys that were laying down those.
Yeah, I mean we all think that's what it is, and it probably was. I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't want to, you know.
We don't need to go here if you don't want to. I don't care either.
I don't want to redress that. So
I don't either.
I'm on the North Shore.
I want to talk about your boards there, though, because this wants to get. I want to get to your parishes, basically.
Yeah. Well, my parishes, I've got no boards. Everyone knows why I got no boards.
Yeah.
And suddenly, you know, Tom Parrish says, "Oh, there's this set of boards up at Jack Reeves's glass shop that a customer didn't want to pick up.
Yeah.
And they're yours if you want them.
Yeah.
And that's the board you got.
Yeah. And those didn't have bolts on them, right? They were just.
Oh no, they were just yellow surfboards.
Yeah.
Narrow pintails. I think I had like a 7.0, 7.6 and an 8-foot or an 8.6 or something. What is that board that you've got?
Yeah, it's 8.6 and it's got a baby swallow and it says for Ian on it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Tom Parrish defied the strictures of laid down in that winter, and he made boards that weren't for me but were for me.
Right.
And I went on and came second in the world. I won the World Cup on those boards, and you know, it's thank you very much, Tom Parrish, for being like a man, independent of all of that pressure.
Yeah.
And it's, to me, that's, you know, you get huge respect for that sort of stuff. Yeah. And you know, so I won the World Cup at Haleiwa was kind of big.
Were you riding the 8.6? The one that I showed you?
The 8.0.
The 8-footer.
The 8.6 was the 8.6 was my go-to board for Waimea.
Yeah. And
the white BK is the one I won the Duke on, and I came second in the Smirnoff the year before in 75.
Yeah.
And if you look, like when I won the Duke, was about the same size as the last Eddie.
Yeah.
Closeouts, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I was on an 8.6.
Yeah.
Taking off under the lip.
Yeah.
Late takeoffs, and literally guys at the bottom of the wave, like Hackman. I have a photograph of me turning behind Hackman.
Yeah. And
he was, as I'm taking off, he's at the bottom. And, you know, my idea was you drop down and you do a turn and you try and go off the top. And so I went behind Hackman, went off the top and stuff. And it was I mean, Hackman always had big boards for his size.
Yeah.
So even if he was probably riding a 9-footer and he's much smaller than me,
Yeah.
so proportionally his boards were always big.
Yeah.
And that's why you see so many photos and videos of Hackman at sunset doing a fade.
Yeah.
Because he's caught the wave on the shoulder side of the peak and he's fading back into the peak. Whereas my stupid head was always like, I need to take off behind the peak.
Yeah.
And drop down.
Yeah.
And this is the evolution of surfing in big waves. Like I took off deep.
Yep.
At Waimea. Way deep.
Well, so these parishes, how long did you ride these boards? I mean, these yellow parishes that you had, did you ride them for 3 or 4 seasons, or was it just the 76?
They were the one season for 76.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I gave them back to Tom. Thank you very much. But in 77, I had different boards. But I was kind of 77 was the year of Big Wednesday.
Yeah.
And it was where we traveled and we got treated like kings and earned.
Did you soften up in 77? Is that what happened?
Well, completely. Because I got spoiled. I just think, man, I should stay in Hollywood, become a well-known actor, and
Yeah, good on you.
It was funny. I posted a here it is here. It's a Warner Brothers.
Oh, cool.
It's a Screen Actors Guild check from Warner Brothers for $46.17.
This year? You get that this year?
Yeah, I just got it at 11/18. I just got it like a couple of weeks ago.
That's classic.
The address is 5 West Kuilima Loop, Kuilima Estates, Kahuku, Hawaii. Because PT and I bought a condo at the Kuilima together.
Oh, okay.
And Mark Warren, the Bronze Dozies bought this condo at the Kuilima on the golf course.
Yeah.
And ultimately we sold it, of course. So I wish we had kept it. Imagine that.
I know. Wow.
But so we had enough to buy a condo on a golf course in Hawaii. We had enough money. We made in 1976. I won $8,000. In 1977, I earned $50,000 from Big Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's a pretty significant. And so if that was the moment when I was beginning to question the concept of pro surfing.
Yeah.
And so we were doing the Bronze Dozies, and I put more focus into that. And I did come back 78 and 1980. I qualified for the Hawaiian events through the pro class trials.
Right.
I was off the tour, not enough rankings to get in the events. Went in the pro class trials. I won them in 78, and ultimately came second in the World Cup to Buzzy Kerbox at Sunset Beach.
Oh my lordy! Well, let me ask you this: you're in the pro class trials in 78. You got to be looking at these kids. Relatively speaking, you're going, who are these punks? I got to surf against these guys. Was it tough for you to kind of get over that hurdle?
No, it was just, what? Pro class trials at Sunset Beach? Are you kidding?
Easy peasy.
Couldn't be easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm making a point here because I got into World Tour events through a trials.
Yeah.
And I came second in 78 in the World Cup. And in 1980, I didn't win the pro class trials, but I qualified for the events in Hawaii, and I won the World Cup.
Yeah.
So there's actually a very big lesson there in terms of someone young and outside the system having an opportunity to integrate with the system through a trial situation, a qualifiers.
Yeah.
That's a big lesson for the WSL today.
Let me ask you this. What do you think about the WSL's leadership?
The leadership?
The leadership of the WSL.
Which regime?
Right now.
Well, first and foremost, Paul Speaker thinking that surfing is like the NFL. And the way that they've just abused the trust of all the photographers and everything and banned them from the events and all this sort of stuff. The heavy-handed control of that. And then you bring in Sophie, bless her heart,
yeah,
the woman, English person, tennis player, rugby executive to run pro surfing. Like that, surely is one of the most genius moves in the history of sport.
Right.
I mean, how could you fail? And then, so now Eric Logan, comes in, and who's, an avid stand-up paddler.
He's been dealt a pretty tough hand. I mean, regardless of who it is, in regards to this pandemic.
Well, the pandemic, they changed the tour. And to me, I see the pandemic as an opportunity.
I do too.
Because let's get something straight here. The tour the WSL is the tour that I started in 1983.
How? Explain that.
It's the countries, it's the spread, the regional offices in those countries, it's computer scoring. Stokes, I got the a Huntington Beach programmer, what's his name, Jeff Stokes, to program computer scoring. I put the priority rule in place at the OP Pro in 1983. The International Judging Panel to standardize worldwide judging, I put in place in 1983 with the ASP. All of I brought Brazil onto the tour. I brought Europe onto the tour in my time and made an international tour. So all of these things are the bedrock of WSL. But it was 1983.
Do you think that you don't get enough credit for this?
Oh, I'm not looking for credit, because I like to contribute to things moving on.
Yeah.
And and I'd be happy to contribute to things moving on. But the first thing you do is I ran big events.
Yeah.
Right. And it was my company, and we didn't need, if we didn't make it break even at least.
Yeah.
And so I understand event operation. You've got to be a genius to break even when you're an event operator. So to take over the events and own them is like dumb. To take over all of the major QS events from individual promoters and make them the Challenger Series, and then to have a lower grade QS series that you don't own, you've just assumed more risk,
right,
and more complexity. And then you have a front office that's full of ultra talented and high level, highly paid people. You're operating a 1983 business model in the world of sport, where the world of sport has evolved and changed to where now there's the NFL network, and they're, still, I mean, Amazon and Apple are doing NFL show. Like,
yeah,
the world has changed, dude. Don't be running a 1983 product,
right,
and be bummed that you can't make a solid business out of it.
Yeah.
Right? You've got to just reinvent.
So are you suggesting that Dirk Ziff is not being, maybe not holding onto the reins tight enough, and he's just letting these guys over here do their thing, and whatever happens, happens?
Well,
because I mean, he's the purse string. So if we're going to talk business, who's responsible for it? I guess the buck stops with him.
Well, yeah, of course. And, clearly they've made a lot of money after they got their inheritance.
Right.
You would assume he's a smart business guy. And every time, when you get a new regime come in,
yeah,
and they go, okay, well, here's what it was in the last group of people, and here's what we're going to change, and here's the revenue projections, and here's our cost. What's the P&L, right?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, I think Sophie got screwed by them taking over the Kelly Slater Wave Company.
Right.
And regardless of how amazing that one wave is, the right is, like a pretty fun wave.
Oh, yeah.
But when you have one wave every 4 minutes, and Wave Garden is churning out 1,000 waves an hour.
Yeah.
your business model doesn't stack up. And that's been proven with the adoption of American wave machines and waveguarding machines around the world. So the Kelly Slater Wave Company is just not economic as a business proposition.
So are you saying because that was thrown onto Sophie's P&L, it put her in a bad spot?
I think that it was inevitable that she would fail because it was the Kelly Slater Wave Company and the WSL.
Right.
And when the Japanese came during the Founders Cup and chose not to put the Olympics in the Kelly Slater Wave Company pool, that was done.
Yeah.
And what they should have, and I know that they're selling days for 50 grand, blah, 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 and you make, but the concept that that's going to be the bedrock, I mean, the only person that could actually make that worthwhile is Charles Schwab's son.
Which is, they're doing
it here in Palm Springs.
Yeah, and they're doing that, right?
And but it's not flying in Australia.
Oh, no, of course not.
No. Because they're up against, there is no enclave of billionaires where you can just fly in. Like you want to put that in the Sunshine Coast, in a wetlands, and take jobs away from people at surf shops at the beach. I don't think so.
Right. So, but back to my original question about the current regime. How do you think they're doing? What's your overall take on the year 2021 and the World Surf League? What they're going through? I'm sure you're following everything that they're doing.
Look, the World Surf League, first and foremost, it's saddled with a business model that's 1983. Yeah, right. We add some digital stuff in there and blah, blah, blah. But, if you're such a content genius, then you'd be churning out content that people love to watch. What WSL show do you watch?
Just the pro events if the waves are pumping.
Right. All of the digital product that they generate, I don't watch.
Yeah.
Because it's not interesting.
Yeah.
Because their latest show is in attempt to get over their vanilla content is, Ross Williams and
Mick.
Mick being controversial. They're both shills for the same system.
Yeah.
Like throw me in there and I'll fucking sling some mud that will create some controversy.
Hey, look, what they're doing is what me and my co-host have been doing on my other podcast for 8 years. And we don't have to worry about the WSL, much as you're saying here. You would be a great podcast guy for this. We'd be throwing it around, man.
Oh, totally. We'd be so pitching and there'd be blood in the streets and people would be hating on us and people would be loving on us.
Yes.
And I had this conversation with a content producer that's very successful, whom I won't name.
Yeah.
And he just goes, dude, you need to have black hats and white hats.
Absolutely.
Right? This is the formula for Louis L'Amour. It's the formula for Westerns.
Yeah.
And you can't have two white hats talking about vanilla ice cream when your audience wants fucking chocolate ice cream.
Well, look.
That's the problem.
Yeah. I agree with you. They're in my opinion, the WSL has one primary principal motivation, and that's to crown world champions. And to do that, they need to produce contests with the greatest surfers in the world and the greatest waves in the world. And that's what they should be focusing on.
Right. And it's genius and miraculous that in this time that they've put 2 events in New South Wales and 2 in Western Australia.
Is it though? I don't think it is. I think that's yet to be determined. Newcastle, I'm not going to watch the top 32 grovel and 4-foot onshore Newcastle. I don't give a shit. I can watch really great edits on YouTube of guys at Pipeline yesterday.
Yeah, well, and here you go, is that I competed in Newcastle contests, and it was the laughing stock of competitions in Australia. I had a contest at Merriweather Beach where you couldn't paddle out 20 feet from the beach. It was that big and that closed out, which if you have a southerly buster, which is probable in that time frame, it's either going to be 40 feet whitewater or 2 foot, just like every QS event that they've run at Merriweather for the last fucking 5 years.
Exactly. This smells like a QS. These 4 events sound like a QS. Even Margaret Rivers was a QS, wasn't it?
Margaret River was, but Margaret River, they just had a sailboard event last weekend. It was 20 feet.
Yeah.
Send them out 20 feet. But what happened was North Point was washing through. There would be a day where at North Point, it's 10 to 12 feet. It would be the best day of pro surfing in the history of pro surfing.
Right.
It's the best wave without question.
Oh, yeah.
Without question. But
so we've, yeah.
So you got the box. So you've got that.
Let's say Margaret River's a success. Let's say of the 4, Margaret River's, okay, we'll give it to you. That's going to be a success if swell pending. Narrabeen, Newcastle, and Rottnest Island, should they just scrape this whole year and start again in December of 2021 with the next season?
Here's what I would have done. I would have gone, we went to Pipeline, we got our ass handed to us because of COVID restrictions. I'm someone in Australia looking at the final photographs of the awards show, and there's no one on the beach in front of them. Yes, this is all our COVID bubble. But behind the fence, 100 yards up the beach, it's 10,000 people screaming. There's a COVID event occurring up the beach there that no one on the North Shore is stoked about. And for sure that why do you think Sunset got cancelled?
Yeah.
Because their COVID bubble didn't work.
Exactly.
And so now when you're going to go to Merriweather and you have all of these guys, everyone from 100 yards south of Sydney to the Gold Coast is going to be in a COVID bubble outside the fenced area trying to watch the surf contest. And so the only thing you'll get to watch is this, but the probability is that there will be a COVID event surrounding that event, and Western Australia will just pull the curtain again.
Yes.
Because Western Australia succeeded by banning everyone from everywhere.
Yes.
And that is the status of the mindset in Australia.
Exactly.
Why do you think that Victoria didn't allow them to go to Bells? Because behind the scenes, I bet there's been massive fuck ups with the Australian Open tennis.
Exactly. There was some positives there for sure. And that's way more easy to control than a beach.
You've got a big fence.
Yeah.
Just go and watch TV.
Yeah.
You've got stadiums. So what did they do? They had problems, so they booted everyone out. They shut down Melbourne, yet they still allowed this event to happen as a TV event.
Yeah.
But the people in Melbourne are just going, dude, we can't risk this.
Yeah.
The people in Queensland have gone, no one's coming across our border.
So your feeling is that it's going to be a fail.
My feeling is that at best, it's 50-50.
Yeah.
What I feel as an Australian, I'm stoked to have surfing, Australia representing as the surf capital of the world.
Yeah.
I'm stoked that New South Wales stepped up and provided this opportunity. I'm stoked that WA has stepped up, and Rottnest can be really good. Like it's like Lowers.
Yeah.
The wave they're going to hold it at. And
kind of sharky though, right? Sharky?
Oh, dude.
Massive sharks.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You're on the continental shelf.
Yeah.
Before there was this massive explosion of great whites, there were great whites there.
Exactly. That's
now what you got is the great whites eating great white.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm tuning in. I'm going to tune in for that one.
Yeah, but my mate Perry Hatchett used to be the head judge. Is Water Patrol Australia. He'll be driving the jet skis around
with a shotgun.
He will dive off with a fucking knife in his mouth. That's how they are in WA, mate.
That's great.
It is. Yeah, it's. And my heart of hearts, I hope they succeed.
Yeah.
I really hope they would succeed.
Yeah.
But my rational mind goes, fear of COVID, fear of a breakout, the fact that their response is shut down.
Yeah.
Tennis is too big.
Yeah.
Surfing, you can just pull the plug and no one gives a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And if that occurs, what happens to the ELO regime?
Well, I'm glad this is a great segue because this is going to be my last question for you. I'm of the opinion that eventually this thing goes away. Maybe it's this year, maybe it's in 5 years. At some point, Dirk Ziff just goes, okay, we've had enough, whatever. We're out. And pro surfing is left. There's a void now. And I've put out the opinion on my other show that I believe that Australia should run professional surfing. And I think that we should decentralize the whole thing. In other words, you could run the North American version of it. Let's say Barton or whoever it is, runs it in Australia. There's a couple of guys that run it in Hawaii. Maybe it's Ross Williams and Marty or whoever. There's guys in Brazil that run their little thing. And we've got, say, 6 or 7 decentralized groups that run their national pro surfing. And then we all get together at one place for the quote unquote, finale.
Why don't we make the finale Sunset Haleiwa Pipeline?
I'm with you. I'm fine with that.
Whoa.
I'm fine with that. I know, and it sounds like 1973 again, which is great. But do you think what do you think happens after this iteration of pro surfing goes away? Does it decentralize? Is it smart for it to decentralize, or should we have one big head honcho guy somewhere?
What will happen is that surfing will readjust and have a look at the who is title of a couple of these events in Australia.
Hurley? No, the cities, the municipalities.
Well, it's the states.
Right.
Maybe the cities, but Rip Curl.
Oh, Rip Curl. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right. They're actually title of 3 of them.
I know, but they must be getting it for free.
Well, for cheap, but having the kudos of having Rip Curl involved, is very important. And who did that?
Claw. Yeah.
Doug Warbrick.
Yeah.
So, regardless of what happens with these guys, surfers will be buying board shorts and wetsuits.
Exactly.
And people that really matter, like Claw, like some people in Brazil, like other people in Australia, they'll step up, and there will be something that will adjust to the realities of the time.
Right, but you're being too general. I want you to be more specific. Do you think we will decentralize, and these 5 or 6 national bodies will get together on the North Shore of Oahu in the year 2024 and have a Triple Crown?
Structurally, it'd be pretty easy to do that. It's very inexpensive. You make each of the people in each of their regions, they have to earn enough money to pay their salary. It's just like how the ASP was set up. And then you would have a group that would sanction those events, and you would have some sort of joint rule book that everyone would operate under, and people it will go back. And let me tell you, every season would have a trials where anyone could enter. And so then you could have a 1990 scenario where Tom Curran wins the world title from the trials.
Epic.
And could be what's his name, Moniz from Costa Rica.
Carlos.
Yeah. I mean, he's a great surfer. He's easily good enough. He's proven in pipeline, small wave, aerial. He's like that multi-talented guy that just couldn't.
He might not have had the willingness that you spoke of earlier.
Yeah, perhaps he didn't have the mental skills, but certainly had the surfing skills.
Yeah, they all do.
Yeah, there's something. The world of surfing has proven that it's just going to be cruise along as the world of surfing, with or without the WSL.
I agree, but it almost sounds like at some point we start to step on Fernando's toes a little bit. We start to step on the ISA's toes if we decentralize and have these nation states come together, because there's no real amateur professional, line of demarcation. So
I don't think it's the I think there's a difference between the professional sport and the objectives of ISA. I personally feel the ISA has the international network. They have the connection to the Olympics. The Olympics is sort of like the Holy Grail, but you know, they have a part ownership in the Association of Paddleboarding Professionals, so they've already stepped in and created a bit of a collaboration model with APP and ISA.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
a really good opportunity that builds on the back of their international network. You could create exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly.
And it's sort of like a bit like a slam dunk. And
it is.
You know, suddenly the money that's being asked of Claw and Rip Curl and of Billabong and stuff, they throw in a bit of kitty. You get some local government help, and boom, you know, you're away again. So, do we need, you know, the big offices and the high-powered salaries, and do we really need the hugely expensive webcast when, you know, you can do it for 1/10 the cost?
Yeah.
And maybe it's not full network ready, but it's good enough for us.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, we're kind of simple guys.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're just happy to see that stuff, and maybe they can throw some people on as commentators that are going to say fuck and that are going to call bullshit when obviously it's bullshit.
Exactly.
And that's what we want. And, you know, the lack of recognition that the actual most important user base for the WSL is all of us.
Yeah.
All of the surfers around the world is sort of like full Hollywood myopia beyond concept.
Yeah.
And, you know, so there's a massive audience of surfers that just want to get recognized as surfers again, and they want that group of people to speak to them, just like we can speak to surfers. Like I can go anywhere in the world and just be friends with surfers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
what do you think of
those guys can't.
What do you think of Pat O'Connell stepping down? It could be argued that he was sort of the last salt in the building, so to speak. And
first and foremost, the role that he was given as tour manager, is toxic, because you've got to support the machine against the individual.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again until ultimately everyone hates you.
Yeah.
And Pat O'Connell is not the kind of guy. He's everyone's friend.
Exactly.
And that's his personality.
Yeah.
He was the wrong person for that job. You got to have some fucking asshole like me just going, I don't give a fuck, John, who you think you are. You fucking blew it. You're out of here.
Right. Who is that person? I'm thinking.
I don't know.
What about Jake Patterson?
Oh, Jake Patterson would be awesome for that.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, he's a total dickhead. Perfect for the job. But the other thing is that Jake Patterson won the Pipe Masters.
Exactly.
He's a real surfer.
Absolutely.
And he tells it like it is.
I love the guy for that.
So that kind of respect that he has won't get completely eroded. People will be pissed, but they can't take away from Jake Patterson what he's done.
Yeah.
Right. In the end, you just got to go, okay, sorry, Jake. And, you know, all right.
It's hard to make a short list for that job. I mean, I thought of Jake Patterson, and then I'm stymied to come up with somebody besides you, you know, that's got all of what it takes. You know, like if I was like Barton kind of comes to mind. Like I think Barton could be the commissioner, but Barton's almost maybe too nice for that role.
Yeah, I don't think he would like it, but Barton as an analyst.
Excellent.
I mean, Kelly is an analyst. Barton is an analyst. Like we're talking about someone that sees. I don't want someone to tell me what I see. I want someone to explain why it happened and what else could have happened. What was he thinking? Did he make a mistake by taking that wave and he missed a set? Like you missed a set in a heat, it's a massive error.
Yeah.
Right. I want someone to tell me that. Like that's a bad move. And
there's like the John McEnroe model in tennis broadcasting where John McEnroe tells it like it is, and everyone goes, "Thank you for that."
Oh, completely. And that right there is part of the essence of change that needs to occur that will not occur because you're being controlled by a massive onset of political correctness. That, I mean, Eric Logan, I mean, I can't get into political correctness.
Yeah.
Just trust it, you know.
I think that's been proven.
So, but my group of the surfers in the world are not politically correct. We like to fucking rag on each other. And if you can't handle a decent ragging, then you're a pussy and you need to fuck off. But it's all in fun and it's all part of the family. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. Hey, I remember I was surfing with you out at Swami's probably 20 years ago. You dropped in on me. I went, what the fuck? And you looked out at me and I think we kicked out and you basically said, mate, there's 3 waves. There's 75 people. I'm fucking going. It was great.
Yeah. I'm just going to, on that special day when I will go across past Swami's on my stand-up paddleboard.
Yeah.
Across to the next wave up there. I can't never remember the name.
The Boneyards.
Boneyards. I'll ride a few waves, and on the way back, I will time it for like the biggest set of the day, right? And I'll be way outside. I'll stroke into that thing, boom, boom, ride that thing. Everyone fucking screaming at me all the way. Get the barrel on the inside section into the sand and just go, thank you very much.
I'm looking for you, Ian Cairns. I'm looking for you.
That'd be so fun.
Oh, Lordy. Well, look, this was a great conversation. I really appreciate chatting with you. I've taken an hour and a half of your time here, and I look forward to perhaps doing it again sometime, Ian. You're always a great interview.
Yeah, there's so much, and there's so much that's going to happen over these next 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
That, you know, questions will be answered.
Yep.
I don't think the final question will be answered, but I mean, it's a very, very interesting time. And I kind of look at disaster as an opportunity.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
You know, because there's, I personally like to wake up in the morning and I've already brushed off yesterday.
Yeah.
And the sun comes up, you know, I stand up and I go vertical and I go, wow, you know, some cool shit's going to happen today.
Yeah.
And that's the world I want to live in.
Yeah. Good. I think I hear the doorbell ring, and I think Matt Young's waiting there at the door.
He's got a fucking 6-pack. And I'm going, you have to go back to the market, mate, because we need a dozen.
Exactly. Struth. All right, Ian. Well, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Good stuff. Good
See
stuff.
you, mate.
All right. Cheers.
Bye.